good morning, and welcome to the Playwright Spotlight magazine. Hey, we are turning a corner for a hot minute because I have an amazing model here. Her name is Sahara Gihana, and she's been modeling now for a very long time. I've been following her on Facebook, and I had her listed as a playwright, and I did not know that she actually um, has written and produced the play. But I want to start talking about her main um, her main passion, which is modeling. And as you can see, she's gorgeous, gorgeous lady.
Oh, thank you. Good
Yes. So
morning.
good morning. So let me give you a little bit of background about her. She was born in '64, and she doesn't look like she was born in '64, but listen. So she realized in the industry African Americans were not well represented, and she's done things that models who really are doing their things has she's already accomplished these things because in her youth she admired people like Josephine Baker, Grace Jones, Beverly Johnson, and as a young woman she modeled her first show for Bob Mackie. Okay, so I'm not even a model, but I know that name, and I know that's just not little stuff you sneeze at right there. She modeled her first going out for Bob Mackie. So y'all, listen, True Love be doing it big. I didn't even know that I was gonna be doing it big like this, but she's got a whole list of things that she's done. And if you look, I entitled this "A Model Warrior" because
Oh,
behind the beautiful face, she's been battling. She's been in a battle for her life, but her attitude, her disposition does not reflect that. So,
thank
ladies and
you.
gentlemen, again, I give you Miss Sahara Gahana. Hey there.
Hey, darling, how you doing this morning?
I am amazing.
Look at
So
that
just
beautiful
fill us
smile.
in. Fill us in on you.
Well, I mean, it all is a culmination of who I am. I mean, my story goes way back when, and starting charm school when I was 5 years old because I was gangly and tall, and my mother didn't know what to do with all that gangliness and all that height. You always have one student that's always the tallest one in the group. Well, I was
Yes.
that one student, and tall and long and gangly and awkward with my height, often rolling my shoulders where I would be looking like I was hunched over. My mother literally and my grandmother would punch me in my back with their finger, stand up straight, stand up straight. So they put me in charm school in order to get me to stand up straight and walk properly and learn to walk with those big feet at such a young age, you know. And it was fun. I remember it being fun. We literally were the ones that walked with it was my era of walking with the books on your head to
Oh.
stay standing up straight. So
Mhm.
that was my era, when we walked on around the runway with the books on our head, or around the room with books on our head. We were taught how to sit down properly and cross your legs properly, cross your ankles. If you're a young lady, you cross your legs if you're in a room with a man. Um, Things like etiquette were very, very, very important, where you could sit down and have a meal at the hamburger joint, but you could also sit down and have a meal at a five plate dinner, or a
Mhm.
seven plate dinner. You knew how to do that and what
Mhm.
forks to use, and which forks to start with and which spoon to start with, which knife you start with, which glass you start with. We had to learn all those things, and they were important back in the day,
Mhm.
because it became essential to your womanhood and how you're going to represent not only yourself but your family. So that
Yes.
was very important. Um, so yeah, I started off at 5, and my mom always kept me dressed to the nines when I mean, of course, I had my play clothes, but play clothes. If people don't know, those clothes you go outside in and you play in, literally.
Right.
But of course, going to school and going to preschool, going to kindergarten, I was always dressed. My mother
Yes.
always dressed me. You know,
Oh,
so I was very fortunate in that manner. And I had a great aunt and my great grandmother that I admire. Leoma Wade was my great grandmother, and Aunt Martha, I call her Marthy. I used to say Aunt Marthy. Aunt Marthy was blinging before bling was even popular, honey. When she had her church hats on, and she was putting little rhinestones on, a glitter on, and spray glitter and stuff. And honey, when I tell you, she created. Here's a tip for your the people that are watching. She got ice cube trays, and they still make them. They're in Dollar Tree. Ice cube trays, and dropped her earrings in them and lined them up in her drawer and stacked them on as an organization system.
oh, good. That's a good tip.
You know, I mean, it's cheap, it's
Yeah.
easy, and you can color coordinate. She had her earrings all color coordinated, and who was a hoop or who was a pierced earring. You know, and honey, she had it down pat.
Oh,
Before it was popular to keep everything so organized, you
oh,
know.
wow.
So I was influenced by the women in my life, you know, my mother, and I was influenced by the Ebony Fashion Fair, fashion show. I was influenced. Grace Jones took up my heart. Iman took up my heart. These are women that were working. Beverly Johnson. These are women that were recognized for their beauty, for their intellect, for their grace and their poise and etiquette. And Grace Jones just came out the pocket and went far left. And I loved everything about her, everything she was doing, because she wasn't locked into a box. And
Hmm.
she
Yeah.
shattered the box all the way around.
Right. Yes, yes.
She shattered
That,
the box. So I
yeah.
love me some Grace Jones. I
I,
also admired Josephine Baker.
mhm.
I admired Dorothy Dandridge. I admired Queen Kate. You know, Jackie O. You know, these are women that made a difference in my life. You know, that I looked up to and said, you know, if I was going to ever do the job and be a model, you know, this is what I wanted to carry myself as, with all that grace and poise. And
Mhm.
that's something that I pride myself on. Is that when I
Mhm.
come to the set 30 to 45 minutes early, then I'm on time.
Mhm.
You
Yes.
know,
Important. You
when
can
I
say
come,
that twice.
okay, come early, and that's 30 to 40 minutes on time. When you're
Mhm.
on time, you're late. And when you're
Mhm.
late, you're fired.
See,
Okay, I get
listen.
it. I get it. You know, so I mean, I have a very strong work ethic. I got that from my mother, my grandmother, my father. You know, always, you know, be on time. And when you're going to be on your job, you do the best that you possibly can do. And that's what I try to bring to my designers. Each designer is different, and they all want something different from you. I'm just a hanger. I am there to represent them and their brand in the best way I possibly can. I am a baldy, love being bald, so I can chameleon because I got 80 wigs. I can be any woman you want me to be.
We do not fight with
I don't
hair.
fight with the hair. No, I lost that battle a long time ago. And when I was in my 40s, I started losing my hair because I had psoriasis that looked like cradle cap. You know, like I was walking dandruff, and it would just come down on my shoulders and my hair would fall out. And when I turned 40, I was really sick. I was really, really sick. And I was having a bad, bad week. And so I was in a flare, a lupus flare, and I was having a bad week. I woke up one day and it seemed like all the hair on the back of my head was gone.
Mhm.
And so I woke my kids up. I woke my husband up. I showed them what was going on. And I got dressed, and my husband was like, "Where are you going?" And I said, told the kids to get dressed, and they were like, "Where are we going?" I said, "We're going to get our pictures taken, but I got to go to the barber first." And they were
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"The barber?"
Yeah, I wanna segue off of what you're talking about now, and the
Mhm.
reason that I named this warrior model, because you have battled with lupus as I'm reading your bio, um, and that's a disease that's common amongst African Americans, I believe. Can you talk a little bit about that and educate
Sure.
people
Sure.
on
Let
that?
let me lay some light on what lupus is. Systemic lupus erythematosus is an autoimmune disorder. and it can affect you in several different ways. Let's start at the head. At the head, you can develop brain fog really bad. It also causes severe mental depression, okay, chronic depressive disorder. It also can start messing with your eyes. It primarily can also help with deafening in the ear. You can lose some hearing. In the body, it affects your main organs, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your liver. Um, manifested through infecting my intestines. It can also manifest in what's called a dermatitis or psoriatic or psoriasis all over your body, or eczema. That could be one of your signs that you're having when you're having a full breakout. Like, say you broke out and it started like a little patch. Like, I have a little patch going on right now on my elbow, this little white spot. Okay. And it'll start, and all of a sudden you'll have two or three patches in a couple of days, and then some more patches come on the other side in a couple of days. That can be a sign to having lupus. But nobody, the doctors will tell you to put this cream on and it doesn't go away. And all of a sudden you're feeling, another thing you have is fatigue. You're just always tired, no matter how much sleep you get, or no matter how much sleep you don't get, you just feel exhausted. It's an exhaustion feeling, like you've been working 10 jobs in one day. And it's very overwhelming. So the fatigue can really sit you down, which is another symptom of having lupus. Body aches, your joints hurt. There are several different types of lupuses. I'm just giving you the description of one, which is systemic, which is generalized lupus, but it does plague our community, and our community are constantly misdiagnosed. It took them 3 years. I was 27 when they started developing. It took them until I was 30 when I almost died, because they didn't know what was wrong with me. And I had a team of doctors at that time in Dallas, Texas. And they could not figure it out, and finally they test me, did ANA testing, and discovered I had systemic lupus erythematosus, and put me on all kinds of IVs, and basically brought me back to life. But what really I attributed to bringing me back to life was my children, my then, 3-year-old toddlers, and climbing up on me, my twins, and asking me not to die.
Wow. Yeah, I read that. I read that.
Yeah,
That is an amazing. I don't know that a lot of people know about lupus. I've heard about it,
right,
but I'm not educated. Um, but I think that there needs to be more awareness, because maybe
right.
people have, they may have
Symptomatic, they're
lupus, and
symptomatic. Yeah, there
yes,
are
and
a lot of people are symptomatic with lupus, and they don't even know it, and they don't know to ask about it. And that is why we're planning on having a lupus fashion show once again, to bring awareness, and we will have talks about it the day before. And it's to bring awareness to the community, especially the African American community, and women having this disorder. Children can have this disorder as well. It takes a very long time to diagnose. It really
oh,
does. But if you know the symptoms, then you can go in educated to your doctor, let them know what your symptomologies are, let them know you did some research, and it seems like you may have be asymptomatic with this particular disease. Will they check you out for that? And if they
okay.
do that, then maybe they can catch it in its early stages and get it under control. I take I take 40 pills in the morning just to be able to do this. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And I take 10
Wow.
pills at night to be able to sleep because I'm
Listen.
a chronic insomniac.
Listen, I have watched you for a while now, and you've done fashion shows, and that's your forte and everything like that. But I call you again, I call this the model warrior, because you've not let this get you down. But let me say something else. When I was reading your bio, there's a couple keys in here that I want to bring out personally,
Sure.
right? First off, as a tall, thin young woman, it's really easy for, you to get up under the fact that people will point you out and talk about you. Why are you so tall? You've got all these nicknames. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So for your mom and your auntie to undergird you and to create a positive um, mindset for you,
Mm-hmm.
and then put you in things where now you've got your confidence. And as you walked and you were trying to be smaller by hunching your shoulders and things like that. And they were like, no, ma'am, no, we're not
Exactly.
doing this, right? And so then another thing, as I'm reading, we talked about the children for a moment where they were like, Mommy, we need you to live. But another thing, your husband has
Yes.
been on your side, by your side, your strength. And as I'm reading your bio, the things that you couldn't do, you had no strength to do it. He came in and
Took
was
over.
that man to you. And so,
Yes, he
me,
did.
I'm Beverly Banks, True Love Productions. I'm all about the real true love, right? Like
37 years, honey.
what does
37
love
years.
look like, right? And
Yes.
this is what love looks like, because a lesser man,
Would have
you know what
left.
I'm saying, would have
Mm-hmm.
cut and run. Because yes, I said, through good and bad and all of these things, but I didn't realize it was going to get like this. But for
Mm-hmm.
your husband to be by your side, on your side, and the strength, and it's like, I
Yes,
got you.
ma'am.
Like I know I'm just adding my own ad lib
But
into
that's the
this,
truth. You're speaking
but
truth.
he's got you through this, because it's challenging enough to have all of these
Mm-hmm.
symptoms going on in your body that you cannot control. I would love to get up and cook. I just cannot.
Mm-hmm.
But for him to come and be that strength to you, and I'm just gonna take a sidebar for a moment, because I am Beverly Banks, True Love Productions, and for those of us who are single and waiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, wait, because a real man, a real man that's
Say it.
worthy of your time is going to be there with you, and you
Yes.
need to make your mind up that you'd be there with him. Like,
Yes.
I told somebody one time before, years ago, then, and this has nothing to do with me, this is your interview, but I told a man that I was dating at the time, I said, you need to be with someone who's willing to wipe your butt if necessary, right? And he went on his way, and
Mm-hmm.
he did his thing, and then, as fate would have it, or whatever you want to say, he ended up with cancer, and his wife, yeah, kind of, you're on your own, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, when I hear of this story, your story of how your auntie and your mom gave you that, you can do it. You are beautiful. You are, God made you this tall. He did this on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You have a purpose and things like that. And then you were married and divorced, and married the right man this time, who's
Mm-hmm.
who's by your side and helping you through this. And I, because I call you model warrior, because you stand poised during this time. And I know people who have had less going on, and they crumble beneath less.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I applaud you
Oh,
along your journey for
thank
being
you.
this example of strength that says, I'm not going to live my life. I'm going to live my life. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to live my life. The life that I have, I'm living my life. I don't
Absolutely.
let life push me down. I'm living the days that I have. So, okay, I'm done. Go ahead.
Well, I have to give it to my hubs, HBBZ. I call them my hubs. Um, I have to give it to him 110%. First, he's 10 and a half years older than I am. So my husband is 71. I'm 60. I won't be 61 until October. And baby, when I tell you I married the right man, woo, I married the right man, because when I married my best friend. Let me say that first and foremost. I married my best friend, and I ran from any relationship with him when I first got married in my first marriage. I ran, and ran somewhere else that wasn't healthy for me. Married a man that was only 4.5 years older than me, and he wasn't mature enough for me. We had our children, a set of twins. We got divorced, and my husband was following me through my mother. Okay. He was keeping up with what was going on with me through my mother, and found I got a phone call at work, and it was him. And he said he wanted to bring me out for my birthday, which was in October, um, to come for my birthday to Richmond, Virginia, to visit with him. And I said, okay, this will be fun. We can, get back together and hang and talk and be good. And what I want to emphasize is that it was not a sexual relationship. It wasn't
Yeah.
about that between him and I. We were
Mhm.
confidants for a very long time. I tell him my problems, he tell me his problems over a cup of coffee. We talk and talk and talk and talk it out and get advice from one another on what to do with these people we were married to, or what to do with these people that were in our lives. We talk it out. And so when I got to Richmond, Virginia, was coming down. This is when people could be allowed to come to your gate to pick you up. And
Mhm.
so I was coming down the walkway. I see him, and he's got an armful of yellow roses, which are my favorite, and one red rose in the middle. And I come down, and he says, "Welcome to Virginia." And he gives me the roses. And I said, "Thank you." And he said, "One stands out amongst the crowd." And he pulled out the red rose and gave it to me.
Oh, 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 I love this story as a play. Okay, so I'm writing a whole thing in my head. I'm like, yeah, I got
Yeah,
this
and
story. Y'all
and we
don't even
spent,
try it.
we spent the weekend on the couch. He had this huge long couch in his apartment, and we were toe to toe. That's how long this couch was, and we spent the weekend snotting, boohoo crying, yelling, screaming, getting it all out of our systems. I stayed in his apartment. That man did not touch me one time in any
I
way
love
whatsoever,
it.
except to give me a hug and kiss me on my lip. That
I
was it.
love it.
The
I
whole
love
weekend.
it. I love it.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, Spent the night with him, talking, getting it out, and got up the next day. He said, "Let's go get some coffee." Okay, and we're in Richmond, Virginia, and it's winter, but it's still early winter, so there wasn't no snow or anything. So I get dressed and put my little heels on, and he comes on, and we go out to go get breakfast, and we're walking down this cobblestone street, and he says, "I got a company Christmas party coming up, and I want you to go to the party with me." And I said, "Okay." And he says, "Oh, look at this little boutique." And I said, "Okay." And so he said, "Let's go in and look at some dresses." And because I had to be in a formal gown. And so I go in there and I see wedding dresses, then I see the sequin dresses. And so we picked some dresses out, and he said, "Go try them on." And I said, "Okay." So we go and I could try them on, and he's oohing and on, and people are oohing and on, and all of a sudden I'm back there and I'm getting ready to try on another dress, and here comes this white bridal gown. And I'm like, "Okay, he wants you to try this on. He saw this and he thought it was pretty and wants you to try it on." I said, "Okay." And so I tried. When I tell you, drop that gorgeous dress, I've never had another dress on that made me feel that way. It was high neck collar, French collar, puff leg of mutton sleeve, which was the puff sleeve and fitted down the arm. Okay, had the lace down in a sweetheart shape. Okay, then the fabric came down in a fishtail, just straight down, and then the big fishtail at the bottom. But the back was strung with pearls.
Oh,
It was open all the way down to my butt. It
oh
was strung with
wow.
pearls. So
Yeah,
I'm
I can.
standing, I'm walking in, and I'm looking at him, and I'm giving him the side eye. Like, what's this? He said, "It's just a gorgeous dress. Get up, go ahead." And so I stood up on the podium, and this is a bridal shop, come to
Yeah.
find out.
Hmm.
And so people are staring and looking, and I'm looking in the mirror, and he comes over, he gets down on one knee, ring in the box, and says, "Will you marry me?"
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I
I'm
said
over here
yes.
tearing up.
I said yes. And he picked me up and he took me down off the stage and we were spinning around and he's like, "Get the pastor right now. Get a pastor right now." And people
Oh,
were crying and people were
oh,
cheering. And I was like, "Yes, I'll marry you. I'll marry you," you know?
yes.
And because I knew my husband, and I'm going to say this, I was not
Mhm.
in love with my husband.
Okay.
Okay. I was not in love with him. I loved him, but I wasn't
Mhm.
in love with him.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
But I knew he would be a good husband to my children. I knew he would be a good man for me because I
Mhm.
knew who my best friend was.
Right.
And so
Yes.
we went on and had the long distance relationship, talked every night, no big deal. And
Mhm.
so finally, I talked to my attorney because he wanted me to move out of state. And I talked to my attorney, and he said it would be better if you were married before you moved out of state. I said,
Mhm.
okay. So I told Dennis, what I needed to do. I said, look, I think we need to get married before we moved to Virginia. It would be good because just in case my ex tries to come back and do anything. And so he said, okay, that's no problem. When you want to get married? And I said, let's do it Christmas.
Mhm.
Christmas. So he came in on the 23rd. We ran around downtown St. Louis, got the license. We went and got my uncle, who was a pastor, and
Mhm.
asked him to come to my mother's Christmas dinner.
Mhm.
And everything on Christmas Eve. We packed up the house on Christmas Eve.
Mhm.
Spent the night at his mom's house, and
Mhm.
the next day I took the children to their biological father's house and let them spend Christmas over there. And we went and got the kids, told them goodbye, and went to my mother's house for dinner and picked up the other two kids because he had two as well. Picked up the other two, my other two children, Michael and Kenya, took them to my mother's house to have dinner. All of a sudden, there was a knock at the door, and it was Uncle Willie James. And Mom was like, "Willie James, what you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, I was invited to dinner by Ann, and she invited me to dinner." My mother and
Mhm.
father did not know we were getting married.
So you have it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to conclude the interview, but I must get the rest of this story. I must get the rest of the story. Listen, this is Playwright Spotlight, but she also, as a model, she also has written a production, and it's called
Where do we go from here?
"Where Do We Go From Here?" And it was produced.
In 1997, and
Okay,
it
and
was at Atlanta Metropolitan College, and it was based on the 1996 Million Men's March and the 1964 Civil Rights Movement March, and it goes back and forth in time, and it tells a whole story of a family.
so this is not the end. This is the beginning of something, and I really appreciate your. We're going to talk again offline, but Miss Sahara Gihana, I love this story. I am
Thank
such a
you.
romantic at heart. Somebody told me the other day, whoever this man is, he's going to be fabulous. I was like, Lord, can you come on? But come on, Jesus.
It will be in your
But it be
time.
Yes, when it is my time. But guys, this has been Playwright Spotlight Magazine on the Phoenix Entertainment Network, and you will be able to see this interview along with others on the Spotlight, the Playwright Spotlight Magazine, virtual magazine. We're coming up on our half hour mark, and so I'm going to have to, unfortunately, just kind of let it go for right now. But you'll hear some more about this because my mind was just going, and I'm like, wait, there's more.
We're so off
I,
topic.
yeah, we're off topic, but that's okay. It's good entertainment, and we need to dig in some more into the lupus and
Yes.
into the love and things like that. Guys, my time is about to be expired in just about 5 seconds. Thank you so much for interviewing with me.
Thank
And
you.
all right,
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
bye bye.